Hello and welcome to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all the week's video game stories and news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. Gentlemen, how are we feeling today?
Great. I'm not hungover.
So for anybody who was listening last week, we had some, I guess it would be fair to call trepidation based on our choice of activities over this weekend, which was a beer festival in our hometown. And we're all very, very smug on how fine we feel, despite going for two instances of beer festival.
We went for two beer festivals. Yeah, we did. We thought,
on the same day.
Okay.
Yeah, so I feel like we're all smug. We're all energized. Chris, you had actually a normal night's sleep last night because you know
any parents will know. Yeah, little one was being looked after. So yeah, me and the wife, we've had about like 9.5 hours. Like I was gone by 11:30, like in bed asleep, full on flat out. I didn't even remember what we were watching on TV, and just woke up about I woke up at normal like feeding times and just went just straight back to sleep. And then 9:30, 10. So I must have had like 9-10 hours sleep, something like that. So I feel great today, and I've got an energy drink to boot as well. So I'm just like high as anything now.
See, that's good. We're all coffeeed up, we're all high energy, and it's good news actually because it has been a bit of a busy week. So we've got a new PlayStation console coming just in time for Christmas, conveniently. Talk a bit about Disney and maybe sniffing around a certain big gaming company which is looking to be bought. ABK, maybe we can stop talking about that for a while soon. And lots more. Lots of games coming out in October, lots of moving parts in the run up to Christmas. So I think let's get straight into it, guys. How does that sound to you?
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Perfect. Before we jump in, just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like videos, click the actual real subscribe button, which is notifications, all that nice stuff. As you all know, we have the super active Discord channel, which we all kind of drop into regularly and talk about all things gaming. We also have the merchandise storefront, should I say, if you want to support the channel that little bit further. Get yourself a nice little mouse mat or a nice t-shirt, which for all video viewers, Richie is modelling like a king.
I'm modelled basically one of the prototype hoodies that we had made from back in the Helix Clouds games day. So you'll get one with a different logo, but this is the hoodie.
I think they're all up there. I think you can get them in various logos.
Can you get the Helix Cloud ones?
I think so, yeah. You get the Sound of Stadia ones as well. But
I've actually got the GamerGuild TV t-shirt underneath this as well, but it's a bit chilly.
What's underneath that?
Skin and hair.
Nipples, everyone.
Nipples. There's nipples underneath my clothes. I am naked.
Cold erect nipples. I've just realised I'm sporting one of those parents' hoodies that's got my daughter's spit all over the shoulder. So as the show goes on, it'll just dry naturally. Yeah. So
that is not available on the merch store.
I mean, I can make it happen if people want, but that's
Chris's daughter's spit is not available for purchase via GamerGuild TV.
Although it's an ample supply,
and it never will be.
So, to mark the packed October scheduled game releases, me and Richie last Thursday jumped into Forza, which kind of dropped. I can't remember the exact date. I believe it was like 2 days before, so like the
10th
week, right? Yeah. So yeah, had a bit of fun in the old racing world, which me and Richie aren't particularly part of on a regular basis. But it was good fun. Yeah. I like the game.
Yeah, so I think it's exactly what I expected it to be. It's a very solid simulation racing game. And if that's what you're into, you're going to have an absolute blast with it. There seems to be quite enough depth in there to keep like seasoned veterans and so like when you can go into nickel and diming the tuning of your car. One thing I kind of like the idea of, you can upgrade your car, but you have like, I think, was it point score or power index or something? They had a number where the classifications of your cars, like whether it's B, C, A, S, that kind of thing, were based on the range of the score. So if you go upgrade your car too much, it'd push it into the next like category. So then you couldn't do like a B class race because your car's now in A class. So you had that kind of thing where you could like, you can't just perpetually constantly upgrade, put all the best stuff available on your car. You have to pick and choose to like customize your car to how you want to play. So I guess for like seasoned players who are going to spend a lot of more time in this than me, stuff like that would be actually quite interesting to figure out how they get their car handling the way they want it to.
Yeah, I think
I had all the assists turned on though.
Oh, naturally, yeah. Like there's a very, very deep game in there for like the enthusiasts, for people who want to get into it. The power levels definitely hit home when you picked some like top tier beast of a car, and I was just pootling on and like in the Mini Cooper. Yeah.
It was our first race. We didn't set a classification. It was just me v Rob. I just picked a car. He picked a car. I picked a Porsche 911 Turbo. It was one of the 3 cars I owned in game. Rob picked a Mini because he owns one in real life. And it was like, oh, you know what? This might be an interesting race anyway because we're both crap at the game, so I'm going to be crashing all over the place. And it was just on the straight. I was just pulling miles ahead. It's like, oh, this is like to the point where a few times I just stopped and let him catch up.
Oh, you were that guy. So that's a good one. That's why the classifications exist then. In terms of the game itself, I'm guessing the visuals were stunning, as you'd imagine.
Yeah. I played on PC, ultra wide monitor, like kind of jacked up all the settings to the max, and Jesus Christ, it's a beautiful game.
Yeah, see, what we should have done is we should have got Rob to stream it rather than me, because I was playing natively on my Series S, which I played absolutely solid, rock solid 60 frames per second in its performance mode, and it looked absolutely fine. But obviously, on the Series S, you're not going to get the highest level of graphical fidelity ever. So you probably would have seen a much better image if Rob streamed it than me, but it's just the way we set it up.
I think with the racing games anyway, they've looked gorgeous for years.
Yeah.
It's always pushing the boundaries. I think because you've got that motion blur, when you're actually playing the game, you kind of don't notice like the slight difference. But yeah, I'd imagine ultra-wide PC specs.
It's very much at a level of graphics where you don't notice it that much. Unless you've went from like playing on like top-end gaming PC, then immediately switched over to Series S. That might be quite jarring graphically. But 5 minutes in, you probably don't care anymore. So it's like, it's not a problem.
Yeah,
with like on the low power consoles. So
remember when you used to play like old racing games, so like back in the day, Gran Turismo 2 or something, or World Rally Championship, and the crowd or the audience who would stand by, they'd obviously look great when you're in motion, but if you stopped driving for a second and just pulled up, it was just like a 2D template. If you spun the camera angle, you got remember in Spider-Man the boat people, where if you went off Manhattan Island, there was a boat where it was being driven by just 2D people in like black suits. It's like a conspiracy thing within the game. They did eventually patch it out, but it was one of those where, the boat people they were called. So every game's got these creepy 2D renders of things that if you stop and take a look, they ain't human. But
yeah,
good to hear that once again. Another AAA game, Game Pass day one, free in all intents and purposes, and 2 big hits, Starfield and then Forza. Xbox on a good run. Yeah. If only they could buy...
if you are one like a big racing game fan, especially in simulations, let us know in the comments what your thoughts are, because your thoughts are probably more valuable than ours for this.
Yeah, 100%. And it was nice for me, seeing as though it's the first time I've actually pushed my PC, because normally it's just like early noughties games being played on it. So it was actually
Starship
nice
Troopers.
to see. Yeah, it was actually nice to see what it was capable of, which is very good. Chris, what have you been playing this week whilst me and Richie have been diving into Forza?
Yes, I've been away with work a lot recently, in the middle of a job change, so not had that much time to play games, but what I have played is just more of Assassin's Creed Mirage. I'm intent on finishing that before Spider-Man next week, although the clock is very much against me now. However, I do have a bit of time off this week before I move over, so probably going to get that one wrapped up. The campaign seems to be ticking over at a nice pace, which is what we knew about this one, smaller title. It's probably just the mop-up that's going to be it. If I can get that done before Spider-Man, we'll have to see. But yeah, thoroughly enjoying it. Getting a good feel for the world and the characters now. Baghdad's gorgeous and fully realised, as I mentioned last week. And the game's selling well, which we'll talk about in the news later on. But yeah, just a little bit more Mirage, jump in, do a couple of side missions, a couple of bits of pickpocketing. Really enjoying the stealth element of it. I think I mentioned last week, just that kind of Hitman vibe it's giving off. I'm not running in all guns and blazes, and very much in a real world scenario, if you get kind of cornered by maybe 3 to 4 more guards, there's a high chance you'll be taken down, because the game is not about action. It's very much about stealthing your way around. So it's a nice pivot from the classic games. But yeah, really enjoy it and definitely recommend it still if anyone's looking for that Assassin's Creed fix before the next big one drops.
Yeah, that sounds really encouraging, because like the thing I most hated about, I guess, probably Assassin's Creed 3 and then to an extent 4, but 4's a bit of a different game. There was no consequence to getting caught in number 3 because you could just butcher like unlimited red coats and there was nothing. So it's good there's actually a consequence to like to get overwhelmed and stuff like that, which is a nice return to form.
Indeed.
They've turned it more back into a stealth-action game rather than being a Western RPG that you can choose to stealth if you wish, but if you fail in your stealth attempts, I'm just going to annihilate everyone.
Yeah. There's still a few times I've did this. So the attack, you've got R1 for just like a light attack, and then you hold it in for like a charged attack. But you do have like a stamina gauge as well, so you can't like duck and dodge all the time. You have to like, similar to like a Soulsborne game or something, you've got to be quite timely in your dodges and your blocks. But there's a few times I've snuck up someone to assassinate, and it's the same R1 button to assassinate. But if you're not quite in the hitbox area, he just hits him in the back instead, and it's like, no.
We've all been there.
I've done such a sneaky approach to get there, and I'm like, right, he's the first guy, and then I hit him, and he goes, oh, sound the alarm, and then everyone knows I'm there, and it's like, damn it. If I just
you'd rather it just be a different context button, like put it on square or something.
Yeah, or the hitbox needs to be a little bit bigger or a bit nicer. Yeah. But I guess, again, that feeds into they need you to be, like, super patient and stealthy, like Hitman, but I'm not that way inclined when it comes to video games.
You might be able to change that in settings.
Yeah. Richie, are you still running through Sea of Stars?
Yeah, so I have rolled credits on it. I'm actually 1 trophy away, and it's basically a boss rush trophy where you have to take out 10 bosses with a specific relic on. The relics do basically game modifiers. So this specific relic, it sets my whole party's HP to 5% of their max. So we're going from having hundreds of HP to like 10. But what it means is if you get a perfect time block, you only take 1 damage. And it also sets some other things like you can only there has like a lock system where you have to use certain attacks to like stun an enemy. You can only damage an enemy once you broke the locks. So it's like an interesting other challenge. But unfortunately, it isn't like just a boss rush mode. So I can't just go 10 bosses back to back. So I've had to start a new game plus and slowly work my way through the first 10 bosses in the game. I'm 4 down, so 6 more to go.
Nice.
And I've not struggled with it yet, but there again, I am massively over level for the areas of the game I'm playing. And with all the best gear, so should be, I don't know, a couple more hours, and I'm actually enjoying it. So it's not it's just one of the, when you look at the trophy list and go, oh, that's an outlier, as an awkward trophy to get the platinum. But
you're committed to getting it at this point.
Well, yeah, I don't want to stop with just 1 trophy left, and it's an achievable trophy. So,
well,
unless I hit a brick wall like I did in Stray, and then
bit it off, and then just
I just binned it off.
I mean, let's be frank. You're not going to want for gaming content in the rest of October and beyond, are you? Like, absolutely not.
Nope.
Absolutely
and
not.
I have made my decision what my next game is going to be.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. I was torn between Spider-Man and Final Fantasy because I've been putting off Final Fantasy for ages, and then Twitter made the decision for me. So
I think Final Fantasy will be your Christmas game this year, Richie.
Probably, yeah. So I'm definitely going to play it. It's just when. It was actually part of me thinking is, I think for content reasons, me playing Spider-Man makes more sense first. Because of me and you, Chris, we'll be playing it at the same time.
I mean, we might as well actually get into that very briefly before we jump into the news, because it was something I wanted to talk about. October is, I think, at least in my recent memory, like probably the most stacked month for gaming in the past couple of years, I think. I mean, I can't think of how many another period where titles have been so sandwiched together. So Richie, your like top is going to be Spider-Man.
It's Spider-Man next.
Yeah, Chris, I'd be very surprised if it wasn't your next game you're going to play.
Yeah, it's pretty much Mirage straight into Spider-Man for me.
Yeah. Now, controversially, I've made the decision not to purchase Spider-Man on day one because I want all of my October freed up for the Metal Gear Solid collection, which, come on, like, it feels like a dream for me to play those games on a.
That's like the week after Spider-Man, the week of Spider-Man as well, isn't it? It's like 3-4 days
right,
after.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You know what? Like, time poor people in the 30s gamers are just like the most victimized audience possible, right? Especially this month.
Oh god, yeah.
So many as well. Super Mario Wonder, which is again a huge, big title for Nintendo fans as well. Alan Wake, poor Alan Wake. I think it's been pushed to November, but still. Oh no, it was pushed to the back end of October to get out of the way of Spider-Man and such, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
I still feel like it's, even though we praise them for moving back and getting into that kind of Halloween mode time of the year, I still feel like Alan Wake's going to just fizzle past because so many people are going to be playing all those other big hitters.
Yeah, and it could be a great game. Well, it probably will be a great game.
Looking at like the release calendar, I think the things that jump out to me most of games that people might be looking to play at the moment is obviously Spider-Man's up there, Super Mario Wonder, Metal Gear Solid Collection. Lord of the Rings Return to Moria less so, but I'm always going to shout a Lord of the Rings title. Alan Wake, that's all October. Then like going into November, you got Power Wash VR.
Yes,
a bit less. VR. Yeah. Football Manager 2024.
I like how you set that up. Going into November and then led with Power Wash Simulator. Like, yeah,
that was the first one I saw that jumped out. Yeah,
doesn't hold a candle up to anything we've just mentioned.
November is a bit quieter, to be fair. Like, I think the biggest title is probably the biggest title is Call of Duty 3. But you've got things like Persona 5 Tactica coming out, Super Mario RPG on the Switch, Batman Arkham Trilogy comes out in December on Switch. And then there's a handful of stuff that hasn't been announced for dates that are meant to be scheduled for this year.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, it's enough to keep us happy until spring, if nothing else were to ever come out in that period. So,
yeah, I think there's enough to keep me happy till 2026. So yeah.
So very, very fortunate. Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic October. But I think what it is time for us to do now is to get into the news. So who am I going to pick out from the panicked faces of who's going to do the intro? Richie, can you introduce us to the...
No. The graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka The News.
The News.
And as with every week, the graciously gathered Gaming Guild Gazette, as is the news, is brought to you by our Helix. No, it's not. It's brought to you by our Guild Heroes. It's the first time I've done that. So, okay.
It gets us all.
Got me.
We'll get it there in like 4 years or something.
Is it my hoodie that's distracting you, Rob?
You know what? The champions of our channel are champions in whatever we want to call them. Now we call them Guild Heroes, but they're the people who support the channel just a tiny, tiny bit more. By subscribing and supporting us, and it's something you can do for as little as 99p per month. Every single contribution, whether it be kind of monetary, comments, likes, speaking in Discord, it's all massively, massively appreciated, and every single one of you who listens is a hero in all of our eyes. So thank you very much for your continued support of the channel. Let's get into the big news, or should I say the small news, because the new PlayStation 5 Slim has been announced just in time for Christmas, and anybody who's listened to me go off on a tangent about how much I hate the behemoth of the original PS5 will know I'm quite happy about this news. So it's due to be rolled out in November, and based on what we can see from like the marketing material and the kind of the bundle of like dropped, it's looking about 30% smaller by volume, which again is a much needed reduction in my eye. It weighs like a quarter in some, depending on like the disc version and the digital version. So a lot smaller, a lot lighter, and judging from the artwork, it's just a lot nicer to look at, right? Like, what do you guys think about this?
I still feel like it's almost like an ugly little brother for not the digital one. So to be clear, what we're getting in this is we're getting a terabyte boost in storage, a slimmer model, and all pretty much the same stuff in a smaller form factor. They've not changed any of the internals other than storage.
The majority of the specs are one for one, so it's going to perform just as well as the current ones.
But that disk drive one, my word, it looks like, you know, when people in your local like housing estate have had an extension put on the house, but they've gone with like the different color brick to the rest of the house. It's clean up, done by a proper professional. It kind of just looks like a botched job stuck to the side. Bad garage conversion, shitty conservatory added on. It looks like that. Either that or it looks like a growth, because it just does not fit with the slit. Like the digital one looks like a sleek router as you'd expect. But yeah, that disc drive one so leaves a lot to be desired. And I would only ever buy the disc one. And as like Rob said, like I've kind of came around to being okay with my PS5 look. But if we look back at the generations, like just keep it to a box. I think we can all agree. Like I prefer the look of the Xbox Series S and X to my PS5 this generation. That's probably the first time I've ever said that.
I still hate it. I hate it less than the bigger version because it's
30%
smaller.
less.
But
because there's less to hit.
There's less. That's it. That is literally it. Because it's smaller and a bit sleeker, but it's still. I still hate the two-tone white and black on both the controller and the console. I hate the shape of like the popped collar. It's like no. I just don't. I just never liked the design of it. I love the console. The console itself is fantastic. The hardware in it, but I just think it looks ugly. It's one of them things. Like, would you want that in your living room? And my answer would be no.
Do the racing stripes not do it for you on this one? Because the slim one has like a slice through it.
They both do. Because the disc version is actually just the discless with a disc drive attached to it.
Yeah, that's something
which is detachable.
They've not clarified in the blog, but it does look like it's just a modular. So it's one console they've built, but if you buy the disc one, it just comes with the modular disc drive, I guess, packaged and attached to it.
Yeah.
Someone in a factory attaches it for you, basically.
Yeah,
essentially,
it's what we expected. And to be honest, I think that's a smart move on their part because it means if you get the discless version, theoretically, you can upgrade to the disc version, should you choose.
You can for an extra £80.
Yeah.
In fact, no, it's more, sorry, $80. €120 or £99.99. So if you make the choice to go discless to start with and then shit yourself and change your mind, £100 more.
So this leads nicely into like the pricing, which now there's like more editions and there's like discless. You can stick a disc drive on the digital version. It all gets like a bit too kind of fragmented for me to make sense of, to be honest. So I'll stick purely for UK market because we are in the UK and dollary dues and freedom dollars just doesn't really kind of translate for me much anyway. So you can get the digital edition comes in at $389, not $99, call it $390. The disc edition comes in at $480, but you can, as we previously mentioned, you can spend what was the disc drive again?
It's £100 for the disc drive, so you're saving a tenner basically buying the disc version up front.
Like you're saving a tenner to like kind of to pre-commit to the disc version, and then on top of that, if you want the console to stand upright as opposed to horizontally, you have to pay an additional £25 to get the stand.
And let's clarify that even further. In all of their marketing material, it's stood vertically. I haven't seen a photo of this from the Sony blog. Well, there's one photo from the Sony blog where it's horizontal. Every other one, it's stood vertically.
Can we also draw attention to, by the way, if you stand it horizontally, have you seen what supports it upright? Because obviously the shape of the disc version has that like warped curve edge to it. There's a little tiny plastic nubbin that looks like it pops out from the slice. And it's really hard to tell because the photo is obviously so like minimalist. But it literally looks like this tiny little, like, when the Millennium Falcon lands and his little kickstand legs come out. It's like a really poor plastic version of that. And my ask of this is like, what if it snaps off? How sturdy is it? Like, it's they've gone obviously with the space age curved style, but then even the original one looks terrible on its side with like the little black disc that you have to unplug and unscrew. You had to put out a YouTube video of how to unscrew. It's like, if this was just a block box, it would just stand. Like the PS2 stood up or down fine, like decades ago.
It's clear that they've redesigned the stand, but then they've decided to sell it as an additional item rather than just incorporate it in the box, which is what you got before.
Bad, that.
So for me, like this, quite frankly, it pisses me off that the way this is supposed to function is like just an extra £25. And like, let's be honest, who wants this like thing laid across, whatever, like shelf or whatever, taking up a bunch of space? Like, I don't know many people who actually have their PlayStation horizontal at the moment. Like, it's all vertical, so this seems a bit scummy for me.
one of the things I've always kind of said is I think the horrible design of the console and the size of it is actually a bit of an intentional thing from Sony, with these having quite powerful hardware in there and need to get airflow, and consoles tend to get hidden in people's like media cabinets, quite often stuck in there with no airflow, and they've designed it in a way where it's going to force you to put it on the top or on a side cabinet rather than just in the little slot you usually get. Because by doing that, it's going to get better airflow, and then Sony going to get a lot less complaints about the thing overheating. But then again, I just don't think. I think the design was just not very good from the beginning. Like it just, I come back to this is the thing that's going to be in people's living rooms. And if you had someone, I want a game console in my living room to just be subtle. I don't want it to be a feature of the room. I don't want people to walk in and go, oh, he's got PlayStation.
But that's what they're going for, right? They want that kind of high-end marketing like Apple get, where it's top-end premium tech, and it being a statement piece, I think, is part of the mantra for the PS5 going forward. That's why everything's white. It stands out, and it's garish.
But then does it go with the aesthetic of your living room?
I don't think they care, because they want it to be that centerpiece. And you see it a lot in kind of like top-end premium design of anything, is they make it different from the norm, so it does stand out. But I think without getting caught up on, clearly all three of us hate the design of it, we should point out that this isn't officially a PlayStation Slim. It is the PS5, and it will phase out the existing model. So come Christmas, it will cost you more money, which we know anyway. We've had a price rise in Europe and stuff for the last couple of months now. It is impacting the American market. They're finally getting the price rise that's hit all of us. So if you want a PS5, get one now before they're all gone. But my guess is Sony can get the price down. They've got, obviously, the production line slimmed, as the console is, and if I was looking for one, I'd hang fire for Black Friday, because that old stock of the original SKU, that's going to be dropping massive. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some massive Black Friday discounts everywhere.
Yeah, I'd keep an eye on the second-hand market as well, because there might be a lot of people who want to upgrade to this version, because you know how people upgrade phones some people upgrade phones every 6 months because they need to have the newest version of the tech. So you might get some of the old model just discounted on second hand as people upgrade.
Do you two think you're going to upgrade?
It's not an upgrade, to be honest. It's just smaller.
Like, I guess would you pay for the slim? Are you going to pay for the slim benefits?
No, because I don't want to buy another PlayStation for no reason. If it was significantly more powerful, I still wouldn't, because I'd have to buy a new monitor to actually be able to handle it. So I'm not even getting anywhere near the most out of the power of my current PlayStation, and it's on the cabinet behind me, and it's absolutely fine there. So
yeah, not for me. Again, if mine broke or whatever, and I'd have to commit to one, I guess I'd get one. But it's that. Yeah. It's a shame about the kind of whole disc drive thing, because aesthetically I would prefer the digital one, but I'm still not willing to commit to that digital future just yet. This does obviously go a long way.
If for whatever reason I need a second, I might consider going for the digital one as a second purchase.
Yeah, I think it's prepping us, though, isn't it, for that all digital future? We know Xbox is doing it with the S. Now these are going, oh, don't worry, you can still buy it as a modular thing, which is great. But the way the digital market's rising, physical shrinking, I would not be surprised if the PS6 and the next Xbox are just digital's the only option. Yeah. And then we see high street game shops just gone. They literally kill them overnight with an announcement like that.
They're basically dead anyway.
I mean, they are.
Or dying, which is a shame. But
Slim Shady.
Okay. So, yeah, it's. I think it's a good move for the PlayStation in general, but maybe when our PlayStation start to fall apart, then we look to.
I hope the PS6 is on the horizon by that point.
Yeah, very true.
I mean, we still might get a Pro, right, in the next 2 to 3 years. Not that we need a power increase, it seems, but we know Xbox has said they have no plans for that. And we know that from the leaks. But in terms of this, my guess is Sony probably have a Pro lined up for 2 to 3 years' time.
I actually suspect the main reason behind these consoles is Sony trying to optimize their manufacturing process. Because now they're only producing one SKU of the PlayStation, plus a disk drive, which Sony can handle anyway, and one extra bit of plastic for like the extra cover for the disk drive. So that'll massively shrink the amount of manufacturing complexity. So that'll optimize their thing, which means they can make more profit, and that's something that seems to be very intent on at the moment. Yeah.
We should probably point out as well is it does say it's starting to roll out in November in the US, so we might not even see it in the UK in time for Christmas. I'm definitely sure that we will, because that would be terrible to miss that slot. But
Yeah.
I always think it's odd when we have these global launches, and some manufacturers still can't get with the unified international launch. Like phone companies do it fantastically. Every single year they manage to pop out a product and get it distributed globally. And there's something that really still irks me about, US gets it first, then maybe these markets. And people like Japan and Mexico and stuff get it. Like, Japan's the home of Sony, and they don't even get it first.
A lot of it is regulatory stuff, because different markets have different regulations. So if this has been developed in the US, it's easy to get the market in the US. Then they have to think about the extra documentation they need to get in other countries. And if they're on quite tight timelines, like either we push this to first quarter next year, or we can get it out in the US before Christmas and get that boost of sales. They want to go on and get it before Christmas in the US.
I mean, it's inevitably the biggest market, but I'm pretty sure it's made in China and Taiwan. So it's shipped one way, then back, then across. But
it doesn't really matter. It's like whoever puts it on the market is the legal manufacturer. So although most of it is like built in other countries, it's technically a product that's built in the US.
I know, but still logistically, you still have to put it on a plane or a ship and get it across the planet. So it's just annoying that it's not universal.
Yeah, it feels like the game is a bit further behind, right, than I guess other comparable markets. But let's see when we get it. It must be before Christmas, but we'll keep you updated on what happens on that front. Moving on to another bit of news, and it's important to preface this by saying these are very much rumors and kind of hearsay and whatnot. But there's been whisperings of Disney looking to acquire a major gaming publisher, and the obvious kind of jump that people are making based on kind of the whispers are that it's most likely like someone like EA. So for anybody who doesn't follow Disney as closely as perhaps we do, the company has had a bit of trouble over the past couple of years, and especially now they're in probably one of the weakest places they've been in as a company. Their IP's not hitting. Kind of the Marvel boom is, I guess, over. Star Wars is in a bit of a,
it's very hit and miss, Star Wars.
Yeah, they don't really have a lot going for them as a company. So that's led them to, I guess, look a bit further in the entertainment sphere and look specifically at gaming. There's been confirmed that Bob Iger, who took back over Disney, I think, was it last year or the year before? We're talking 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, it was Bob Iger was the one who kind of led them into the Disney Plus generation and the transformation of some of their parks and movie kind of landscape. And then he left on a massive high. Bob Chapek came in. Just they can only hire Bob's the CEO apparently, so you might be in there, Rob. You might be in there. Yes. And basically, he took them through COVID pandemic. So even though he wasn't a bad leader, financially, the parks got closed, which is their biggest revenue stream. So they had no money coming in from theme parks. Obviously, the movies struggled throughout COVID as well, like Black Widow having to go on Disney Plus. There's no revenue from those. And then, like you said, Star Wars and stuff pivoted towards content for Disney Plus, which meant no ticket revenue from the movies, and it's just it's gone through that. And then they brought Bob Iger back, and he's took over from Chapek, the board of directors and stuff, voted him back in. So he retired, but then came back to steady the ship essentially. Shares went up a little bit, but he's now coming to the realization where they put that much money into projects like Disney Plus and stuff, but they're not seeing the benefits after those massive acquisitions. Remember, they paid a lot of money to get Fox as well, billions of dollars. And it's that world where even though they make so much money, it's still not good enough somehow.
I don't think they've used the Fox IP yet in any real significant way. There's stuff in the works with the MCU and stuff, but the MCU, as you said, it feels like it's on the decline. Since Endgame, I think the combination of Endgame and when COVID hit is kind of this current phase of MCU has just kind of hammered it a bit, and then the films haven't been very good, to be honest, most of them.
Well, it's just content, isn't it? It's the same problem Netflix and Amazon have had, is that, yes, they have all these IP, and Fox brought along a massive back catalogue of libraries, but at the end of the day, once people have worked their way through it, it's been a few years of Disney Plus now, and everyone's gone back and watched the classics again because they're all accessible for the first time in decades. You didn't have to wait for the Disney Vault to release a Jubilee edition of Cinderella or whatever it was. You could just watch it all. And my biggest criticism of what they've done with the likes of Star Wars and stuff is, because they've pivoted so much of their IP towards television, their revenue stream is just Disney Plus. Whereas the movies, at least you got that boon of 500 million coming in, 600 million, and because they've done that, we're almost like conditioned to not expect movies now. So Marvel's a bit tainted because it's just like 6-episode seasons. Star Wars is now 6-episode seasons, and we don't have the big hype flagship, let's all go to the cinema with our friends and family and enjoy a 2-3 hour movie. It's kind of gone. It's been washed away, which is a shame.
Me, like, with the MCU, I think a lot of the paint's come off after Endgame. Endgame was like kind of a nice end point for the MCU. Then they've tried to get it going, and then Kang, it just seems like I just don't care about him as a villain at all. I don't like multiverse stories and time travel stories as a general rule of thumb, because I think they just cause more problems in your narrative than they solve. And then they're just left with this, and then a lot of the big hitters have left the MCU. Spider-Man's always up in the air with them, so it's like, it doesn't feel like we're building towards anything with the MCU at the moment. It just feels like stuff is happening.
Yeah, I'd agree. But from what I can see, like some executives at Disney, they're looking to kind of turn around the company's fortunes by going from a game licensee, which is what they operate as now, to an actual full-blown large-scale game publisher. Now, they already have a very big relationship with EA, like the Jedi Survivor games, etc., etc. What would you guys' reaction be to, okay, this comes out in a couple of months, Disney are making a concerted play to buy EA? Do you think it's good for gaming in general, or do you think it's more just kind of Disney, I don't know, I guess more stuff getting pulled into the Disney symbiote?
For me, I think it's like twofold. I think the bad element is always going to be like consolidation and stuff. If Disney bring them in, then people probably lose their jobs and stuff. But in terms of games, I like EA because they're independent now, and we know they've done really, really well over the last few years to kind of steady their own ship. But from a Disney acquisition standpoint, I think it's a good buy for them. They already have great relationships. You said, Rob, Jedi, Survivor, Fallen Order games are terrific. Battlefront was great for its sins back in the day. And I think Disney have like the IP that could go with it, and EA bring a steady flow of money from the sports franchises as well. Like, we know the likes of EA Sports FC and Madden and stuff, they bring in the guaranteed money year on year, regardless of how good or bad the game is. It still performs. Mm-hmm. So you've got that kind of balance of cash income, which could help steady the ship elsewhere. But as a combined effort, Disney have the IP. So as much as we like lament the movies and stuff, the reality is I think the Jedi Survivor games have probably made more money for Star Wars than the shows have in recent years. Like, the shows might see the shows might see like a little boost in Disney Plus numbers, but then they all bounce after a month. Whereas the game, it sold 20 million copies, I think, Survivor. Then Jedi Fallen Order probably sold upwards of 30 plus at $70 a pop for a game. That's a decent turnover, and all they've done at this point is just license that. Imagine if it was all in-house and the revenue was majoritarily yours. And they've got all IP that we haven't even seen yet. There's a Black Panther game. There's an Iron Man game. All this stuff in the works. So they've got the IP. I just think EA or Ubisoft, they don't need necessarily to build themselves. They just need studios that are capable of tying in with their IP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. More interestingly as well, like, I don't know about you, but the thought of having more overlap with the games in Star Wars would be like super exciting, because there was a tiny part of me that held out hope on the Ahsoka series to see like a Cal cameo. Like that was always a hope, but like that brings those possibilities kind of much higher. Richie, what do you think? Excited?
I'm not sure, to be honest, because I think EA to me feel like they're heading in the right direction, and Disney feel like they're heading in the wrong direction. So replacing the current EA management with Disney's management, I'm not convinced that's good for games outside of Disney's IP. I can see the advantage for Disney. They're getting a massive publisher who is probably acquirable with the resources they have. They've got all these studios, but it depends how much like the Disney's like executives start fiddling with the gaming industry when they're not from the gaming industry. So I really don't know how that could play out. So, and it does feel very much like one massive corporation just eating up another, and you never know what the consequences of something like that's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's
at the moment, I think Disney are not in a bad place in gaming with their licensing out, because at the moment, it means I think they can almost in a situation where they can actually treat the IP better by picking and choosing their partners, who's going to work with, someone can quote at Disney and pitch an idea for one of their IP. And if it's something like say if they're trying to keep everything Star Wars very tight in canon, someone pitches an idea and goes, no, that doesn't fit with our canon, rework these few points and it can fit, they can still have the power of the IP. Or they can go, no, that's not going to work for us at all. But then Disney could actually see a game come and go, oh, that's a great game. I think that could work for a Star Wars game. Then they could reach out to them. Where if they buy EA, I think they're stuck using EA studios. I also worry for the indie side of EA as well, because it does crop up occasionally. What if there's? I feel like it's one of them. Disney won't care about the indie side unless it's a Disney IP, and if it doesn't make enough money, it's just going to be killed. So I don't know. I'm on the fence. It really sees what the plans would be, but Disney themselves are non-committal about it at all. It's just something that is being pitched internally, seemingly.
Yeah, I think it's capitalist 101, isn't it? Where they're all looking to make more money, and like you said, they make perfectly ample, probably licensing the games out, but then there's got to be loads of people on the board.
Sometimes more money doesn't lead to a better product.
Yeah, there's loads of people on the board.
Often it can be the reverse.
Probably just going, but we could have more money if we did it ourselves, like if we did it in-house.
And it's the shareholders as well, because you're getting Disney shareholders now in charge of a gaming company.
Yeah.
Which are very different to EA shareholders.
Yeah.
EA shareholders are probably more knowledgeable, I'd assume, of the gaming industry and the trials and tribulations. So it's really hard to see what this could be. It could be amazing. It could be terrible.
There's more acquisitions going to happen, isn't there, in a few years? Like one of the big ones, I'm still waiting on Apple. I feel like they're still a sleeping giant who they want in on gaming, but they don't know the right way to do it. Like if Apple came in and bought EA tomorrow, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense from their standpoint. They acquire loads of studios. They get to go.
Say that's terrible though.
As a gamer, but from an Apple shareholder standpoint, that's a big foot in the door with gaming. It's kind of like Disney. It's these companies that have money to throw around, and they look at the gaming industry and go, it's the biggest industry on the planet right now, and it's only getting bigger. We have the money to get in easily, like Microsoft are doing with buying Activision. They're just swinging that big dick money around and get what they want because they can afford it. And they just beat out all the other competition because, again, capitalism's got to that size now where there's only a big few who can do this. And we've seen it happen. So it's the water's not settled. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see what the future holds for EA. It's important to note that they have restructured their company. So now they have EA Sports and I think it's EA Entertainment or that's something, whatever that name. So like they're kind of position to be bought as like two separate entities if needed. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens to EA. Again, one of the only companies that hasn't been acquired by a bigger player in the past couple of years.
It feels like EA and Ubisoft are like the last two big ones, and Square are the last like kind of three big like recognized publishers that are standing independent.
Yeah. I think Embracer might go soon as well. Have you seen all like there's like rumors of saying like Embracer they got the Tomb Raider and stuff in those studios for cheap because of the long-term goal was to basically make Embracer just have as much as possible, but then almost in a way like purposely mess it up so that other people can come in and buy the Tomb Raider guys, Square, Eidos and stuff for cheaper. You know, like behind the scenes, smoke and mirrors, business dealings. Because like 300 million for them, we said at the time was like obscenely ridiculous.
I'm sure there's laws against that, but
how can you do it? Yeah, it's like, well, Embracer suddenly tank it. They lose this deal with that Saudi company, and then all of a sudden you can get everything Embracer for like what $500,000 or something. It's like shit, that was a good ass deal. It's like dodgy insider trading kind of stuff. But
yeah, I mean. One company that has been taken off the acquisition kind of menu, if you want to call it that, is ABK. Finally, the deal with Microsoft has been approved. It's went through. Nobody at this point can block it anymore. There's some people that can investigate further. Richie, I would love to see
one guy with a placard going, no.
No to ABK.
Yeah.
So, it feels like we've talked about this every single week. We've been running this podcast. The deed has been done.
The entire run of X-Pass.
Yeah, the marriage or hostile takeover, however you want to call it, has been kind of complete. Phil Spencer kind of released a statement, very PI, but I'll kind of read it in full because it's just kind of feel like I need to mark this occasion with something. It's as one team, we'll learn, innovate, and continue to deliver on our promise to bring the joy and community of gaming to more people. We'll do this in a culture that strives to empower everyone to do their best work, where all people are welcome and is centered on our ongoing commitment of gaming for everyone. We are intentional about inclusion in everything we do at Xbox, from our team to the products we make and the stories we tell, to the way our players interact and engage as a wider gaming community. That last chunk there seems very, very intentional, given the reputation of like Activision Blizzard at the moment, right? Like, so I feel like he's trying to, I don't know, I guess steady the ship with the reputation of particularly Blizzard at the moment.
It's Bobby Kotick as well, isn't it? The head of Activision. He's supposedly going to stay on until maybe 2024, because the sooner they get rid of him, the better. I think it's one of them transitional phases. Cut the rot out of the place. They have like what Activision collectively have like something like 17,000 employees across Activision Blizzard. Lots of people, probably lots of big HR shake-ups. But I guess the biggest question for me is when do you think we'll see these games on Game Pass? Because we know the Bethesda stuff was quite quickly after.
I think maybe next year, but I'm trying to look for a quote. I'm sure like Bobby Kotick was quoted as like talking internally to like staff when they announced this internally at Activision Blizzard about like how Microsoft were like wanted to buy Activision Blizzard because they were like enamored by like things like the culture of the place, and it's like everyone was like, what? It's like he just seems so divorced from reality, to be honest. He seems like that your typical CEO who spent way too much time just in board meetings and locked up in his office and isn't aware that much of what's actually happening in his company.
Yeah, I mean,
and then completely dismissive of what he sees. He's got inner circle. I don't know. I mean, he could be just straight up evil, as he's portrayed to be. It could be just a case of he's got this inner circle that he trusts, like of like senior managers, and he's trusting what they're saying over than the reports he's hearing. It just seems to be they need to get rid of him, and that entire senior management structure. Like, I think this probably is the right move to keep him on for a short period to ease the transition, because Activision Blizzard King is a massive organization. You don't want to just cut the head off day one, unless you have this guy's going to go straight in, but it might take time to find the right guy.
They need to sort out his settlement fee of how much he leaves for. He needs like his golden parachute payment. Let's face it, he's also going to benefit massively from this buyout as a key stakeholder in the company. So $68.7 billion
negotiated.
Oh no, but
that's been negotiated in their deal.
You can't just sack him day one, though. You need like he could always just turn around and counter sue and say like, yeah, you can't just buy us out then dismiss me. But yeah, he seems like a big fat cat who's just lost in his own little rich world.
If you've bought the company, you can then have an opportunity to just get rid of the directors if they don't no longer have any shares at that point. But that's usually quite a more hostile thing. It seems like just to ease the transition, they'll have negotiated his settlement and his remaining tenure at the company, going, Phil Spencer will know his end date. That's already established probably for a few years now.
I don't think anybody's going to miss the guy.
No.
Let's be real. But I think in terms of seeing titles on Game Pass and kind of when it actually manifests those games, because like, to be honest, all we're talking about here is like the business, like legal side of things. Like when this will actually kind of manifest for games, I think, I don't know, like probably like over the summer. I'm guessing like 6 to 9 months. That is, like, I guess, would be like a big summer hit on Game Pass. I think is going to be the first.
I think it will be a case by case, and obviously Call of Duty is going to be the more complicated one to bring over, and there'll be like outstanding license agreements potentially with other like platforms like PlayStation and like Xbox themselves will have contracts regarding this stuff. Nintendo will have contracts. There'll be contracts for things like Steam and other like vendors. So they'll have to go through it probably in a case by case or franchise by franchise basis and see what the actual contractual status is for these and what can be maneuvered. What can we get up there straight away? What's going to take a bit more time? Is it worth buying out this contract or waiting for it to expire? Whatever the situation is. But I think you could start seeing stuff from early as next year.
Okay, my money's on
early next year.
This year, I think now they own it. All those contract deals and stuff, as we saw with Bethesda. Once you own it, like great PlayStation,
Bethesda
Nintendo.
have less moving parts though.
I know, but in terms of it, like you own it now. So yes, you might have contracts with PlayStation. Just keep them going. You don't need to fiddle with the other ones. You just need to open them up to being on Game Pass.
It depends on the terms of the contract. If they got a contract with Sony that says no Game Pass,
but I don't think Activision would do that with their stuff. Like just the way they've regulated, because like it's very rare you see those titles on PlayStation Plus and stuff anyway, a bit, maybe by 1 or 2. But I can see like Black Friday. They want it over the line for this Christmas. So when they're pitching and selling the S and X against this new slim PS5, it now comes. It might not be Call of Duty. I just think we will see some of these titles come through. I could see Crash and Spyro and Tony Hawk's being like now in Game Pass along with everything else.
Oh, the Tony Hawk catalog on Game Pass would be my dream come true for Christmas.
I think you're going to start seeing a like drip feed of it, probably ideally starting this year, but if not, early next year.
Yeah,
probably with some like the bigger titles like a Call of Duty happening later down the line. Probably, ideally, I think they want get to, the latest Call of Duties on Game Pass by next Christmas. That would be my target if I was them.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because there'll be another Call of Duty out next year, right? So they've got another entry to drop, but. It's just, I think that Game Pass beast needs that content, which we've said time and time again, and I think this is perfectly timed for just like a massive blowout. Even if we get like the old catalogue of every Call, like imagine that announcement, every Call of Duty game, not this year's, but everyone prior is now on Game Pass for this Christmas.
I think they might hold stuff back, you know. If you look at what we've just been talking about the last few weeks, where like Phil Spencer, like the leaked emails and stuff about how they've had a dearth of content.
Mm-hmm.
If they've now suddenly got this huge block of content that they can dump on Game Pass, rather than dumping it going, put it there all day one, they might hold stuff back. So if it looks like it's going to be a quiet month, chuck that out there. Chuck Spyro, chuck Crash, chuck Crash Team Racing, chuck a Tony Hawk's game. Just if it looks like it's going to be a quiet month or two, you've got something in the barrel ready to go. Just keep the perception of more stuff coming.
Yeah. I mean, it's such an exceptional resource they have now. Like, it's good. It's going to transform Game Pass. Let's be real. Like Game Pass we have now compared to Game Pass in 12 months is going to be night and day.
We've only just thought about the Activision titles. Really, what happens with things like the Blizzard title? What happens with, for example, World of Warcraft? Because Microsoft now own World of Warcraft.
You just say that sentence out loud is quite mad.
Yeah, I know. That's just the thing. Could they now just go to everyone on PC Game Pass is just going to get, there you go, there's the base, there's the current editions of World of Warcraft.
That's what they did with Elder Scrolls, right?
And yeah, they literally could do that. Like, and that would help with the player base. I don't know how that would impact things like the revenue streams. I don't know what like the in-game microtransactions are like for World of Warcraft nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But it could give the game a boost if it's just suddenly there free, so you get a load of people jumping into new content because they have it on Game Pass.
Yeah, and then the one thing we always miss out on and we forget about as well is the mobile division, like King. Like Candy Crush raked in like $20 billion over its life cycle.
The reason is I think that's just they're not going to do anything.
They're
just going to leave that alone.
Well, I personally think that King is going to.
King's the money spinner for this.
But King's going to change Microsoft more than Microsoft will change King. I think they're going to learn a lot from King on how to kind of monetize mobile elements of their ecosystem. What
you might see from King starting to produce like Halo mobile games, Gears mobile games and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just access to IP rather than... Because let's be fair, from a business standpoint, King absolutely rakes in the money. Millions of people all over the world play King games every single day. Why would you mess with that? Mm-hmm. There's no need. Just leave it. Just let them do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And grant them the access to the more stuff that they want from that you already own.
Yeah. And that goes back to us in the EA Disney thing. It's like you would acquire them, like King here, and FIFA would be your revenue stream. Where like just don't mess with that. Don't screw with it at all, and you'll still have millions upon millions of dollars coming in every single year. Just like with King, it rakes it in. So why rock the boat? But your revenue streams are opened up more.
You might see someone promoted to like the head of Microsoft's mobile gaming division or something. And then that side oversees King. And then that person still reports like Phil Spencer. But just creating this entire new arm of the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be super interesting. And I think the green side of gaming in the future looks very promising.
Next year, guys, we're going to be eating good.
Eating good.
Hey, if you've got Game Pass, it just means like we still have Game Pass for like another year, right? Still. So by the end of that, we could just have so many more titles that we would have otherwise had to pay 50, 60, 70 quid for.
I think I've already said this on content before. I think I'd be more inclined to keep Game Pass over than PlayStation Plus if I had to pick one or the other right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah,
because I use Game Pass, I don't really use PlayStation Plus, so...
Yeah, exactly. And on that side of things, actually, let's jump over to the blue side and let's jump over to what's happening immediately. Because we've got some new games on PlayStation Plus for October. They're all dropping on the 17th, which will be tomorrow when this podcast drops. It's kind of a mixed month for me. So we're getting Gotham Knights, Chris's favorite title.
Hey, I'm open to playing it if it's free.
I think the hope in this is like a shot in the arm for the game. So yeah, Gotham Knights, Disco Elysium, the final cut, which I missed, but looks like a very, very interesting game right up my street.
Critically acclaimed.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to jump into this. And we're also getting the latest, I think the latest entry in the Dark Pictures anthology, which is House of Ashes. And also Alien Isolation, which is kind of like, those had mixed bag reviews, that game.
It's an old one. It's got a cult classic following, I feel like now.
Yeah.
That survival. It was one of the first survival horror, wasn't it? Like first person survival horror.
Mm-hmm.
I played this with one of our friends when he used to be my flatmate, and we had it with the Xbox Kinect on, and we both sat on the couch going, she does anything, because when we're hiding in the cupboard, because on the Kinect version, the Kinect actually picked up your voice and did send like messages to the Xenomorph, so like it's like as if your character was talking in game.
Oh yeah,
and it had like motion controls as well, so you could peek around corners.
So yeah, I'm sure that'll be a big hit with the fans of the series. We also get a couple of older games, so like the first Dead Island, which I liked, considered like despite the negative feedback I got from like a lot of people, like middling reviews. Outlast 2, Elite Dangerous, a couple of indie, Far Changing Tides. But yeah, it's like a big drop this month. Chris, let's start with you. Is there anything out there which kind of speaks to you?
Not really. There's a couple of like classic games in there that they're throwing in, Ape Escape Academy and stuff, but it's one of those months like with most things that there's no real big hitters. But with that chock-a-block with AAA titles, like brand new ones that I want to play, like I ain't putting down Mirage or Spider-Man to play any of these. Again, Gotham Knights on a stream with all three of us could be very, very fun, but it would never be something that I'd like commit to playing on at all. Disco Elysium, like again, like Richie said, it's critically acclaimed, but it's just I'm just not in the mood for that at the moment. I've got Spider-Man on the horizon, so I'm all ready for some web slinging and stuff. But it's a solid collection of games, just not for me in the time I've got.
That's kind of my thing. I'm looking at this list of games and going, these are nice additions to the catalogue, but nothing that I necessarily need to be playing. Which I think is what PlayStation Plus is about, where with Game Pass you're looking forward to the big titles coming out day and date. PlayStation Plus is more about taking all the games and adding them to the catalogue. And there's actually basically 4 choices in this list that we could play for Halloween. Outlast 2, Dead Island, Alien Isolation, House of Ashes. They're all kind of Halloween-y games. So they've clearly thought about this a bit.
But yeah, I mean, I think from my perspective, I'm going to check out Disco Elysium. Nothing can get me into Gotham Knights. That's the unfortunateness of it. But yeah, if people aren't kind of like down to save for Christmas and stuff and they don't want to drop some money on the new titles, I guess there's something here which can like tide you over for a couple of weeks. I think
it's solid. It's solid, if not exceptional.
Yeah. Now, in kind of loosely related news, I guess, from the PlayStation side of things, we've also got confirmation that Sony has kind of confirmed its full launch of the PlayStation 5 cloud streaming service for games, which has been in beta for like the past, I want to say like 3 months now. Far beyond the time when PlayStation Plus rebranded and relaunched. We're actually finally getting the chance to stream PlayStation 5 games on PlayStation Plus, which feels to me like should have been a given so long ago, but we're finally getting to the point where it's getting rolled out.
Yeah, this is one I've been thinking about. I thought like you can. I was like the same as you and thought, well, this should have been on launch, blah 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 blah. But then actually, I've kind of changed my view. I'm very more optimistic about this because in recent times, PlayStation, when it came to cloud gaming, seemed to be only focused on remote play. Just look at the PlayStation Portal; it's a remote play only device, and that is the biggest criticism I've had of that device. Because if this was a full PlayStation Plus device, I'm very, very much considered buying one. But because it was remote play only, it's like, well, I don't really have much use for that. But this shows like, Sony haven't forgotten about the rest of cloud gaming. Bringing PlayStation 5 games is a big step up. You can play games that you already own through the cloud. Again, it's another step up. And it gives me hope that eventually the full PlayStation Plus experience will make it to the portal.
Yeah. I mean, we've said before as well, like Microsoft have been trialing that, but you can't buy a game on Xbox right now and stream it unless it's part of the Game Pass cloud library. So this is kind of like a step forward, but as Richie said, they've kind of like nurtured it behind the scenes, and they're putting out some big statements here. They're stating you can stream it 4K and resolutions are support up to 60 FPS as well. So it's not just like your basic streaming service. It does seem like they've spent a bit of time and they've gone into it. So these big titles, their tentpole titles, are playable, like the likes of God of War and stuff, and upcoming Spider-Man. It's if they're there day one, is going to be critical for me. There's no like blanket statement to say it's every PS5 title. It still says starting this month, select PlayStation 5 titles, which is always the little caveat asterisk that can get in there.
That's the key word there, isn't it?
But the big thing for me is, like, as Richie said, the reason I've not really used it is because you look at what games were streamable, and I think the only real big one today that comes to mind was Stray last year, where
and the performance was crap.
Yeah, and it didn't work fun. So if they've incubated this for like an additional year, and now it's ready to go forward, hopefully it'll come out and it'll be fantastic. They need to look at the PC counterpart component, because we all agree that's absolute shit.
I was about to bring this up. At the moment, this is to the PS5 device only, which makes me feel like this massively watering down the benefits of cloud gaming. If you're already streaming a PS5 game that you own to a console that can just run it, to a device that can run it natively, it feels like, unless it's just a short, quick look at a game, if you're going to play anything for time in that game, you might as well install it. And then you're not dealing with the negative side of cloud gaming, for like the extra latency, which I don't know what it'll be like with this upgrade. The potentially your internet provider being twats and just killing your internet for brief periods of time, stuff like that. But again, I'm choosing to be optimistic with this because it's proof that Sony is still working on it. It's just they're working on it at a rate slower than I would like. I think both Sony and Microsoft have probably deprioritized this a little bit since the death of Stadia and the cloud gaming. But it seems like they are still working on it, just with smaller teams. And more will get there. There's no, outside of GeForce now, there's no massive pressure from any company for them to be the best in cloud gaming right now.
Well,
so they're just happy to slowly get there.
Well, as an interesting side note as well, I was reading this week the new guy taking over from Jim Ryan, Hiroshi Totoki. I think that's the guy who's got it for like 6 months while they sort out Jim Ryan's replacement. I was reading stuff today where he's huge on like cloud gaming being like the next big step they want to invest in. So it's kind of interesting that he's going to shepherd the next kind of phase of PlayStation in. Like, he might even get the job in the end. You never know with these type of things, but there's a big focus, and I think this could be the start of it. And back to what Richie said, like, if they announce, maybe not initially at launch, but if that PlayStation Portal can somehow become a streamer for PS5 games, you can play Spider-Man PS2 on the move over Wi-Fi with a PlayStation Portal. That could be such a good selling point to get people in the door.
It could just be they want the Portal out this year before Christmas to get them Christmas sales, but the cloud streaming is not going to be where it needs to be for that device till next year. So rather than delay the Portal till the cloud streaming is ready, get the Portal out now, and then you can have almost a second wind next year when you got the cloud streaming up to where you need it to be.
It's got to be a must, because if you think about the irony of it, I can boot up, in theory, looking at this, PS5, my console at home, I can stream Spider-Man 2 if I've bought it outright, just via the cloud, and then I can pick up my Portal and stream that to my Portal so I can play Cloud Spider-Man 2 via my console to the Portal, whereas surely just give me that internet link to stream it via PlayStation Plus Premium and just like cut out that middleman console, because it doesn't seem like it's required. But like you said, Richie, whether it's just not ready or it's not been cooked properly enough, I think it's a trick that they're definitely going to overlook if they're not making that move. But
we should remember as well, before Google Stadia and Amazon Luna and Xbox Cloud Gaming came out, it looked like the nails were in the coffin for PlayStation now. It looked like they were about to abandon it. It almost felt like you could see the U-turn. So I think Sony are probably behind in development than the other platforms, and they're playing catch-up. So
Yeah, I'd
I'm
agree.
choosing to be optimistic that they are working on it. This is an upgrade to what you're getting. It's not ideal. It doesn't go as far as I'd like it to, but I think it's good.
Yeah,
It's the right direction.
they've called the entire thing like a large undertaking for our teams, which is why they're doing like a rollout over the next couple of weeks. It starts on the 17th of October for Japan. Comes to Europe, which I assume we're rolled into the 23rd of October, and then it's the 30th of the month for the US.
You have to remember as well the infrastructure that they need. They're not Microsoft or Google. They don't have farms and farms and farms of servers.
Mm-hmm.
They
Exactly.
need to produce that or acquire it somehow.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the ability to stream more game trials, because it's less of an ask to get like to download the full like package to even like look at a game. So that's the best thing for me. But yeah, really looking forward to it, and it seems like this is a good solid step in. I guess like Sony developing their bigger ecosystem outside of just the console, and like fair enough, it's a first step. But we've also got news of potentially seeing trophy support for PlayStation 5 titles on PC, which I didn't actually realize this because it's not something I particularly that I don't do that kind of gaming on my PC, but I just assumed that this was already a thing, but apparently not. So yeah, just recently Sony announced. Let me just bring up the thing.
It does feel like this one should have been more of a thing.
Yeah. So where's the announcement for this? Yeah, so from what they can see, some people who have been looking at I guess like the PlayStation trophies, they're seeing a tag in trophy sets, which is PSPC, which they're kind of making the jump to say that it's like PlayStation PC trophies. So
Makes sense. They're already porting games over to PC. They seem committed to that. It feels like it should have been their first right from the start. That would be my ideal. And just all you need to do is, if you buy a game from Steam, you know how you just have, everyone hates them, but when you boot up a game, you have to log in. You log into your Sony account, and then you can get trophies popping.
Yeah, it's that little bit of like just cross-pollination of code, isn't it? We know Sony have dabbled, or they've not dabbled, they've been working behind the scenes potentially on doing their own storefront. But they obviously have shares in Epic and stuff, and they have a great relationship with like Steam to a degree with their PC releases. So it's just that filling that final gap, isn't it? Of like, if you're a PlayStation fan, what might deter you from playing it on PC, even though it's got like the highest spec and it looks the best, is if you ain't getting your trophies, that's a big turn off for a lot of PlayStation gamers. So just filling that gap.
I'm not sure if it's a big turn off for PC gamers though.
True, but it's that for Sony, it's that little bit of a pull in where if you pop a few trophies on PC, all of a sudden, that console that you might not own looks a little bit more tantalizing. So you've enjoyed Spider-Man on PC, but Spider-Man 2 ain't coming to PC for another year. I might just invest in a PS5 this Christmas to get that. And the trophies are that little thread that you can pull in to say, well, I've already popped the Platinum on PC, and it transcends across. So if I pick up my PS5, I've already got one Platinum on the go, and it's that little meta game that goes on, that gamification that gamers just love, and it just scratches away and goes, oh, go on, treat yourself. Black Friday sale drops, and then you're in there. So I think it's an obvious thing. Should have probably been there from the beginning, but hey, Amazon Luna doesn't even have achievements.
Right direction. It's right direction.
Yeah, positive motion is the key, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, all good on the positive news on the PlayStation Blue side of things. Let's finish off the show just by having a run through some of the titles which are kind of on the horizon or might already be out, and we kind of have a bit more knowledge on their impact. So, Chris, we talked about this earlier when we touched on Assassin's Creed Mirage, but it looks from, at least in you're enjoying the game, it looks like it's been really positively well received, and it looks like the numbers for Ubisoft kind of reflect that. So what they've kind of said is kind of, wait a second, where's the thing? Yeah. So put out announcements saying Assassin's Creed Mirage has been out for 6 days now, and we are thrilled by the love and positivity we received over the last week. Posted on X, formerly known as Twitter. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey that celebrates, honours and builds upon the last 15-year legacy of Assassin's Creed series. We could not have been happier that our Back to the Roots experience has been embraced by the community. Also, 1.2 million cats have been petted within game, which
And Yeah, they're very important stats. There's an interesting one as well. If you pet some of the cats, some of them have on, like the little triangle of a cat's nose, it's got the Assassin's Creed logo on their nose. And if you find those cats, you get a little drop of loot as well, as like a little bonus perk if you find them.
As long as it's not a thing you have to do for the trophy.
No,
Find all the
not at
Assassin's
all.
Creed cats.
But in terms of the game, like you were saying, Rob, it's an interesting one because I think this could have went either way for Assassin's Creed, where everyone who loves the new version, they're a bit disappointed by the length of stuff, but it seemingly has been embraced very, very well. It's as close to probably the original game, other than a remake of the original game, they're going to get to with the setting and the style of the gameplay. I'm surprised. The wording of this is a little bit interesting because they don't out and out say it's the best title ever. They make a point of kind of saying it's on a similar success of Origins, and not like, just tell us the number then. But no, they can't say that. It's like on a similar trajectory. We're proud that it's the biggest next-gen launch of sales to date, so they have to definitively cut out...
It's the only one?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Valhalla did have a PS5 release, Series
cross-gen
XS,
though, so that's going to hamper the sales.
Yeah, and we know Valhalla was the biggest because they did tout about that back in the day in 2020. That was their biggest Assassin's Creed launch to date. But you know what? Origins and Odyssey did really, really well. So it being anywhere near on par with that, because this could have been an absolute fail story if it wasn't embraced, or people didn't think they were getting the money, or people who played Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla were like, well, this is nothing like the games I've been enjoying. But I think it's got enough similar DNA. It's kind of bringing in the old audience and the new and kind of collectively going, hey, you know what? Have fun. And at the end of the day, Assassin's Creed's so fucking big for Ubisoft that it's going to sell well regardless of where in time you plonk it, really. But I'm enjoying it. Go pet those street cats.
Indeed. Sound advice for life and for gaming as well.
Now, maybe street cats avoid a little bit because I'd imagine they can be quite like plagued and disease-ridden and...
Yeah, use your best...
Your mileage may vary.
Yeah, with street cats,
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Better advice, probably. Let's jump over to the 2D kind of side-scroller world for a second, because we have... I think it's fair to say the OGs of gaming in Sonic and Mario both dropping titles very imminently. It's kind of a tale of two sides, so I'll jump into Mario first. So Mario Wonder previews have kind of landed, and from what I can see, like it's universally positive. So pulling a couple of just like quotes out from what we've seen. So Fuxnet, never heard of them, but whatever. They probably haven't heard of us either. Wonder is possibly going to be the more-ish Mario game, and it's certainly the freshest and most surprising 2D Mario has felt possibly ever, which is very, very high praise for 2D Mario. We've got IGN giving it very, very high praise as well, saying Wonder proves that once again Nintendo remains an incredible innovator, consistently keeping you on your toes with its ingenious mechanic and way to play. It has also established an impressive history of rarely using the same trick twice, even within the same game. And after the glimpses of the wild stages we've seen in the latest trailer, it feels like the possibility for the plumbers and friends are endless. So, yeah. Basically, no bad news on this side.
They've done it again. Nintendo, turns out, know how to make a Mario game.
They've done it again. Yeah, it looks fantastic, and Richie, y'all I guess the most stalwart of the Nintendo audience. Does this pull you back into Mario?
No, not personally, because I think we discussed when it first got released.
What do they need to do, Richie?
What do they want, Richie?
Well, I was about to get to that. Like, I've discussed before that I'm more of a 3D Mario fan rather than a 2D one. I never really played that much of the 2D Mario games as a kid, so my first real Mario game was 64. Where I think you, Rob, have played more of the 2D ones than I have, so you were the more 2D Mario fan more than me.
Yeah, I had the one disc the one cartridge that had like the 4 games on, and the special VHS with Craig Charles. I think I've mentioned that before.
Yeah, I'm always more of a Sonic fan in the 2D space, and Mario in the 3D space. But I'm not that much of a 2D platformer anyway, so...
Okay, fair. But for anybody who is into that space, this seems like another just stellar inclusion to it, I think.
Yeah, this is it. I'm happy this game exists. I'm happy that Nintendo seem to keep making great Mario games, and because they're beloved, so it's good news.
Good news. Chris, any interest from you, or is it just too packed at the moment?
It's too packed again. I'd have fun with it. I always have fun with the 2D side. I played New Super Mario Bros. On the not on the Wii U, on the Wii, I think, back in the day, and it's been that long since we had another one. It was when they got the Switch re-release. It was the Deluxe, wasn't it? So New Super Mario Brothers Deluxe.
It was like the Wii U one was the last one.
It got ported, yeah. I'd have fun with it, but yeah, just way too much to play right now. But good for Mario, still chipping away, and he's got a new voice actor as well in Wonder.
It's not confirmed by Nintendo, but a voice actor called Kevin Afghani is claimed to be the voice. So,
do you know
congratulations, Kevin. He's got a big mustache to fill. I'm sure he'll knock out the park.
Do you know what? Where he's made his first mistake already. His tweet to say he's incredibly proud to have voiced Mario and Luigi in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Thanks Nintendo for inviting me into the Flower Kingdom. Why does his tweet not just say, "It's a me, Mario"? He's the voice actor. That is the best line he could have possibly used then. Yeah. It's me. But yeah,
he'll never get that chance again, will he? Now because
no, he said it. It's out there in the wild. But again, I don't think Nintendo intend to make a big deal because they had that whole weird thing with Charles Martinet, where they're like, oh, he's an ambassador now. He's no longer doing it. He's technically retired, and that could upset, I guess, some games, even though he's an older guy who deserves his happy retirement. But I think keeping it quite like Mario is Mario. He's not a voice actor. He's not a Chris Pratt coming in. It's the sounds of Mario that you're familiar with. So this guy might be voicing it, but I don't think they want him as like their role model.
From what I've heard on like people who've actually played the game, he's done a decent enough job. Mm-hmm. It's not like what do you call it? You're not in the uncanny valley listening to him as Mario. Yeah. It's fine.
I mean, he only has like 3 lines anyway, doesn't he? Like when you're playing along, he doesn't do much. Wahoo!
It might be a long, deep story. Mario might be fully voiced in this game, probably not.
You know, I didn't even think Chris Pratt did a bad job bringing him to life in the Mario movie. Like I enjoyed it. I didn't think, oh shit, this is Chris Pratt all the time. Which is like it just sounds like a dude would sound like with a slightly higher pitch voice.
Yeah. Good news from the Mario side of things. Not so good news from the Sonic side of the coin, to be honest.
Right.
So the
he corrects rings anyway.
Yeah, well, good. Yeah, like the reviews are coming in for Sonic Superstars, and they're not great, to be honest. There's one kind of exception, which is Gaming Trend, who give this 9 out of 10, calling it a delight from start to finish. From start to finish and beyond, which is even higher praise. But for the most part, we're looking at 6, 7, 6.5s, and people are kind of saying, you know, it's a good solo experience, but it starts to kind of fall apart as you introduce more players to the mix. So, as an example, I think IGN sums it up best when they say Sonic Superstars has a mix of both interesting and ill-advised new ideas, making it an enjoyable Sonic game, but not exactly a super one. And I think that the way Sonic is at the moment, and kind of it needs a hit to kind of get life back into it, and it looks like this isn't the game to do that.
Yeah, they had Mania, which was a hit, and then what was the 3D open world one that seemed to do okay?
Frontiers.
Yeah, Frontiers. Yeah, I think Sonic might be just destined to be in the 7 out of 10 bin. Just like this is what Sonic is. It's just a 7 out of 10 platformer. If you have nostalgia for it, you're going to really enjoy yourself, but it's probably not for most people. That might just be what the IP is, and occasionally it'll step out of that and get a surprise hit. Because let's be fair, it's been a long time for Sonic since there's been a massive, massive hit. Like the only two I can think of in modern times are really like Sonic Mania and Sonic Origins, which was more of a celebration, which went back to like some of the old levels and stuff. So that's kind of cheating a bit.
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah. But
I love that game though. Actually, I had a great time playing it.
Yeah, I just wish that like Sonic would get back to like its former glory, but I don't think I'm going to see it anytime soon, unfortunately. But hey ho, it is what it is, and I think we'll round out the show now, because I think there's a couple more games on the horizon, but they've got there's a lot of unconfirmed kind of rumors, which I think it would be better to save until next week when things solidify a bit more. Is there anything? What's the next week of gaming look like for you two guys?
Mirage for me. That's it. And then
It's-
Spider-Man's 5 days time. So from the time Spider-Man's this Friday. So yeah, I need to forego. I should have got. When I said I had loads of good sleep yesterday, I should have actually took that time to get up with no baby in the house and just put a good solid 3-4 hours into Mirage. But I didn't. So
You need to catch up your sleep though, like.
yeah, but as gamers, we know we always sacrifice sleep for gaming. So
That's the way it
You're
works.
planning to finish Bloodstone as well, aren't you, next week, Chris?
yeah, Tuesday I think I've rearranged the live stream too. So that's probably got another 3 or so hours into it. But I've enjoyed Bloodstone. It's just again finding the time. I had to rearrange last week's stream because I had it lined in I think for Tuesday, and then it didn't work out. But my intention is to finish that and then into the Spider-Verse.
Richie, what about you?
For me, I intend to get the platinum and Sea of Stars, and that's achievable. I just need to grind out the last few bosses to get there. I do want to go back and do another Ocarina of Time stream because I enjoyed the first one. I do want to maybe turn that into a full playthrough. So I don't know when that is, but I'm hoping maybe sometime next week I'll get a stream in. We'll have to figure out what we want to stream later in the week. We can talk off camera about that. What if anything specific? Because we do have Spider-Man coming as well next week, so maybe that's an ideal. Do like a few hours of the opening of Spider-Man on Friday or something, and then obviously Spider-Man. Yeah.
So it's a very, very big week. And let's cap this off by having a look back in time to see what big things dropped on this day in gaming all those many years ago. And this week in particular, 2 really solid titles which are close to my heart got a sequel, and that was Red Faction with Red Faction 2, which came out 21 years ago, which tells you how long ago the actual original game for that came out. And also Roller Coaster Tycoon came out same day, 21 years ago.
Oh, what a day!
Two
Disco
solid
Elysium?
titles.
Disco Elysium came out 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Jesus. Do you know what came out? I don't know why, but in this list that we use to check these things, there's apparently a title which came out today, as at the time of recording, on a Nintendo Switch called Need for Spirit Drink and Drive Simulator.
Okay, that feels like the least Nintendo game possible.
Yeah, so
Drink
apparently
and
that came out
Drive
today.
Simulator.
gonna see if I can find a
Need for
review.
Spirit Drink and Drive Simulator.
Obviously, I feel like they intend Spirit to be. Really? How does that get past?
I misread that initially as Need for Speed Drink and Drive
So
Simulator.
did I, because I almost read it like.
So that means they know what they're
serious
doing.
title.
So
Metacritic.
you step into the shoes of a hapless professional driver tasked with transporting various alcoholic beverages such as beer, spirits, wine, and brandy to certain venues like birthdays and other miscellaneous celebrations. If you thought this mission was going to be easy, think again. The infrastructure will be challenging to say the least. Country roads, mountains, and highways that resemble dirt roads all provide worthy adversaries on your path to a successful delivery. So it's a delivery game where you're driving a car around with like barrels of booze and stuff, but the title alone shouldn't be allowed on a storefront, right? Drink and Drive Simulator, jeez.
So, I can't find any proper reviews. So I've went to Steam, the Steam community page, and it looks like this game came out maybe 2018 on PC. The first review I read was thumbs up. He's got 4.3 hours on record. This game changed my life. And everything else is largely called trash.
Better or worse, it changes its life.
Yeah.
But
So someone in February 2022, product received for free, give it a thumbs up, and went literally the worst game ever made.
I mean, yeah, I don't think this is going to cut through the gaming.
Literally
landscape in
threw up
October.
after playing this for 30 minutes. Nice, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Like, okay,
I don't think Spider-Man is.
It's a
anything to
meme.
worry about
It's a
in this
meme.
game.
In terms of the other ones, though, you got to shout out, I think, what Rob's already pointed out. Red Faction 2, great. And I think Roller Coaster Tycoon is seminal. One I would want to point out as well is Night Trap for the Sega CD, which was one of the first games to have like live VOD. It actually got a remake, I think, like a re-release, where it was taking actual actors and making like it was like a horror game. I think people broke into the house or something. It was like a teen horror slasher movie thing where intruders come in the house, but it was one of those that got the government's interest because people will literally break into a house on real video footage, capturing these young girls with under hidden camera and stuff, and dragging them out the house as victims. And you can imagine that 31 years ago being very problematic for people.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. Back in the days where it looked like full motion video was going to be the future of gaming for cutscenes.
Yeah.
I still look at that with like fond, not this particular one, but like the actual
taking victims from a house.
It's that era of gaming where the graphic style will change vastly depending on what part of the game. I think Final Fantasy VII is a perfect example of that. Depending where you are, the graphics just change massively.
Yeah.
Between cutscenes or in the overworld, or between battle, or just within a city, you got about 4 or 5 different art styles going on.
No, very, very fond memories. But that's all we've got time for in this episode of the show. I hope you've enjoyed our kind of meandering off into the weird and wonderful history of gaming to close off the show. Just once again, thank you everybody for all your continued support, whether that be just watching the videos, liking, sharing, subscribing to the channel, like talking in Discord. It all means a massive lot to us. And again, I appreciate everybody who comes and kind of encourages my journey as host on this show, and every single positive comment is very, very welcome. So thank you. Anything else anybody would like to close out the show with?
Thanks for watching. Go play Spider-Man.
Yeah, thank you. Yep, I agree with Chris.
Thank you very much, everybody. My name's been Rob.
I've been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
And remember, play wherever makes you... Is that still the slogan?
Yeah.
Play wherever.
Go play Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's the new one for this month. Go play Spider-Man.
Thank you, guys.